was sitting at an outdoor cafe enjoying my dinner, and a young man walks up with his bike. I had my earphones on, and the young man walked up to me when he stashed his bike by the door and gave me the signal like, I would like to say something to you. Can you remove your earphones? So I moved my earphone off one of my ears and I looked at the young man and he said to me, can you watch my bike for a minute? I'm going to go inside the cafe. At this very moment, I responded fairly quickly, I cannot be held responsible for your bicycle. To that, he says, oh, okay. And then as I'm putting the earphones back on my ears, he goes into the coffee shop. An awkward exchange, indeed. But so apropos, as I look down at my cell phone, what I was listening to was Dr. Romani explaining how certain people are immune to narcissists. And so she was going on to describe what these people who are immune to narcissists are like, and she described me and my younger brother to a T. Now, both of us grew up in a household with a fairly narcissistic mother. And her description of these individuals is that they are not bothered by the antics of the narcissist. It doesn't get under their skin. They don't take the narcissist BS personally. They are not easily gaslightable because they have a strong sense of reality. They have a strong sense of self, a strong sense of their abilities. They see the narcissist as just existing as a matter of fact. They don't try to change the narcissist. They don't wish for the narcissist to be different, even though they recognize that the narcissist is toxic. They have strong boundaries. They know when to say no. And boy, did that describe me in that moment. You see, what the young man had asked, which was for me to look after his bicycle, can seem like an innocent request. And if you're like me, you might have a little hero inside you that looks for opportunities to help others. And so in appealing to that hero in us, a situation like this may cause you to automatically say, yes, sure, no problem. I'll look after your bicycle. In fact, I thought of the many survivors that I work with at that very moment when I was flatly turning him down. And I thought about how it wouldn't come natural to many survivors to do that. And there could be various reasons. Perhaps it's that they don't like confrontation, or they would feel bad or guilty, or they would feel awkward, or they want to be a hero and they want to help others, so they're going to take every opportunity. Maybe they care about what others think of them. But whatever the case, by me flatly turning him down, I was setting a boundary, a limitation. You remember my words to him? I cannot be held responsible for what happens to your bicycle. In other words, a failure to plan on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. You didn't buy a chain for your bicycle. That doesn't mean that I am now the guardian, the babysitter of your bicycle. And now, as he stammered a little bit, surprised at my reaction, learning how cold the world is, this young man had to turn around and walk into that coffee shop. Perhaps he did think, that guy's mean. That guy's not helpful to anyone. Perhaps he did think my request was innocent. I don't know what he thought, and I don't care, because that is not my responsibility. What is my responsibility? It is not his feelings. It is not his bicycle. My responsibility is to care for my own well-being. My own well-being includes my peace, my self-esteem, my happiness, my freedom. If I were to commit to looking after his bicycle because he didn't prepare for this moment, then I wouldn't be able to get up and leave the cafe freely when I wanted to. What if something goes wrong? What if he disappears? What if someone really does come up and steal his bicycle? What really am I prepared to do? Watch it get taken? What am I committing to here? Am I supposed to get up and start a confrontation with a would-be thief? What if that thief is violent? Truly, it was not in my best interest to do this favor for this stranger. And though it might seem cold, there is something we can learn from this, which is the ability to say no. N-O. Because when we have that skill well built, we suddenly become repellent, adverse, even immune to the abuse of narcissists and to the designs of predators who are looking to come and take from you and to take from your resources. Now, many people say, I have a strong sense of intuition. There's something inside me that just knows. I can really read people. I know when somebody is a narcissist. I can just tell. To them, I say, please, close your mouth. No, you don't. No, you don't. You also don't understand how foolish you look saying that to people who are experts in this industry. We recognize that anyone can be lied to. Anyone can be fooled, bamboozled. Anyone can be tricked into thinking one thing is something else. You are not special. In fact, the very people who are saying they have this strong special intuition that will let them know if someone is a narcissist ahead of time are the same people who have a pattern of being abused by these very individuals in their life. You do not have a special ability to know right away. And you can watch all of the videos and the tapes and read all of the books on narcissism, and that can help, but it will not tell you every situation, every scenario. You are not going to automatically know who they are when you first meet them. And it doesn't matter. For those individuals who are immune to narcissists, one thing that was brought out is that they don't necessarily know whether the person is a narcissist or not, because that is not important. What is important is their strong sense of self, their strong sense of reality, their ability to set boundaries allows them to remain safe. They have strong self-preservation, and so they're able to take care of themselves and not get sucked in to a narcissistic vortex and to become easy victims of an abuser. So I'm going to show you how you too can develop the skills necessary to repel narcissists, because that's what we need, not to be able to detect them. We don't know. People are on different spectrums. I talked about my brother and I being immune to narcissism. It may be that we built up our immunity because our mother was like a low-level narcissist, whereas other children had to grow up with very high-level narcissists. And yes, there are levels to narcissism. Being exposed to a low-level narcissist helped us to build up our immunity, much like if you were exposed to a vaccine, which is the virus just in a weakened form so that your system can build up its antibodies. In my opinion, that's something like what my brother and I experienced growing up. But it doesn't mean we understood what narcissists were, because we didn't. But we developed the characteristics and the traits to not lose our sense of self by the personality and the tactics of these abusers. And so I'd like to pass on for you some real life things that you can use right now today to stop the cycle of abuse and to make sure you're not falling back into being easily preyed upon. Because yes, predators are looking all the time for their next victim, whether it's someone who is a psychopath, a serial killer, or it's someone who's your common everyday family member, coworker, who's just looking to get a little bit more for themselves. Or maybe it's just a neighborhood kid who would like you to look after their bike instead of taking responsibility for their own belongings. Whatever the case, your strong sense of self, your strong sense of boundaries will keep you safe. Please keep in mind, you are always being observed. You are always being tested. You are always being observed. You are always being tested. So if narcissists are not testing you, they are first observing you. Predators look at the way you walk, the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you hold yourself in order to determine who their prey is going to be. Common misconceptions: oh, if I make eye contact, that shows that I'm interested in a person, so I should avoid eye contact. Wrong. It's a misconception. Predators who are looking for a victim are attracted to people who are afraid to make eye contact. A person who makes eye contact, and we're talking about just you on the street with strangers, when you look these strangers in the eye, it shows, I see you. I am here and I see you. This makes predators uncomfortable. And this is what the research shows. Also, research shows that it is a myth that if you dress provocatively or wear skimpy clothing, you're asking for it. Actually, for predators that are looking for their next victim, someone who's dressed in revealing clothing would not necessarily be their first choice, because that person is displaying that they have confidence and they're provocative. That person may be prone to fight back. They're looking for people who show that they do not have confidence, so they tend to victimize actually someone who may be wearing conservative clothing. Just as many victims are wearing hoodies, sweatshirts, and jeans with their shoulders slumped, looking down at the ground. That, to a potential predator, is something that they're looking at. So yes, we need to keep in mind basic skills, demonstrating confidence in the way we walk, in the way we carry ourselves, in the way we hold ourselves. All of these things are signaling to the people around us, I am in control. Making eye contact briefly with strangers says, I can see you. So ultimately, these tips are going to help us in the day-to-day just with strangers. But when we're at work and when we're at school and in our family arrangements, we need to have other characteristics that are going to help us to be adverse to being used and abused. One of the best ones is embracing rejection and being a lone wolf. Embracing rejection and being a lone wolf. Do you know what a sigma is? Like a sigma male or a sigma female? Because there's a lot of talk about the alpha male and the alpha female. But I would like you to learn the art of being the sigma female or the sigma male. A sigma is someone who is popular, successful, is attractive, but is highly self-reliant. It's highly self-reliant. The difference with an alpha and a sigma is the alpha has their power that exists within the group structure. The sigma is doing their own thing. They're not concerned about the group. They're not trying to be with the group. They don't feel the need to be with or around other people. The sigma is self-reliant. They take care of themselves. They find their own happiness doing things for themselves. So they embrace the idea that they could be alone for a certain period of time. That's normal to them, that they would be alone. So instead of saying, oh no, I'm scared to let go of my abuser because then I'll have no one. Then I'll be alone if I cut off all these narcissistic people. They don't think that way. They think, why would I be around people who abuse me when I could be with myself, experiencing peace, happiness, serenity, accomplishing my goals, being aligned with my purpose. A sigma is focused on their purpose. And so if you want to be aligned, And you need to focus on living your life and surrounding yourself only with people who are aligned with your benefit, with your goals. If you continue to associate with persons who are toxic, then that's going to tear you down, even if they're not directly abusing you. If they're just toxic, which toxic to you could just be someone who doesn't have the same goals as you, who doesn't share the same religious or political beliefs as you. That could be toxic for you because it's misaligned. And so it can cause you to lose yourself or lose your sense of yourself. Does that make sense? So don't be afraid to be alone. Embrace being alone. Rejection is not a negative thing. Rejection is a positive thing. Rejection is what you want to happen in your relationships. Let me repeat that. Rejection is what you want to happen in most of your relationships. Why is that? Why would I want rejection to happen in my relationships? Because it's through rejection that we get rid of the bad fish. All the abusers and the narcissists leave our lives when we get them to reject us by being strongly assertive and having boundaries, or when we reject them because we're not afraid to be alone without them. So how many people have you rejected recently? Honestly, your list should be high. You should have a huge list of people you've rejected. It's not because they're all abusers. As we said, a person can be toxic just because they're misaligned with your goals. So the majority of people you come into contact with is going to be a mismatch. So the majority of people you come into contact with is going to be a rejection one way or another. You're out or I'm out. Either way, I'm walking away from you or you're going to walk away from me because you're not going to like me. And what's the best way to get people to walk away from us? By not being nice and being fiercely ourselves, which is your next tools for not being abused. When you are not nice, that means that you're not pleasing, you're not appeasing. You may not necessarily be especially polite or considered as polite. You're just not nice. Does that mean that you're mean? Well, some people might call it that. For instance, what I did today to the boy at the coffee shop. True story. It wasn't nice. Would some people say that I was mean? Probably. I think if we took a poll, probably get about a 50-50. Well, 50% of people here might say, yeah, you were a little bit mean to that boy. Yeah. But guess what? I'm well practiced. I do that all the time. Yeah. I'm turning people down, saying no to their requests for help all the time, all the live long day. People are asking me, neighbors, friends, family members, hey, Roman, can you do this? Do you want to go here? Do you want to do this? Can you help me with this? And I'm saying, no, thank you. No, I can't be held responsible. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Well, am I a mean person? Sure, that's fine. If that's what you want to call that, that's fine. But you know what it really is? It's me being authentic and well-boundaried. The difference between me and the next person is the next person is thinking no in their head, but they're saying yes in person. And then what do? They go and they resent that other person, or they hate themselves because they didn't live up to who they really are. You need to live up to who you truly are. And so when it's a no in my head, I just give the person a no in real life. Just like that. That's authenticity. I'm thinking in my head, no, I shouldn't do that. And you know what I say out loud? I say, no, I shouldn't do that. Actually, recently, my friends, they said, Roman, we're all going to get together. We're going to go to a music festival. Do you want to come? And I said, no, I don't want to come. Killed the whole vibe. Everyone else wanted. Do you want to go, Rick? Do you want to go, Sandy? Everyone else wanted to go. Roman, do you want to go? No, I don't want to go. You guys go. You go do it. I'm not afraid to kill the vibe. Was that awkward? Perhaps, yeah. But it was authentic to me. You might like music festivals. I don't. You might like standing in an audience, getting beer spilled on you, listening to musicians live that don't sound as good as they do on the record. I don't. I'd rather go home and just listen to the record and watch the YouTube video. I can enjoy myself that way. That is me authentically. Is that making sense? So by being authentic, then the connections are authentic. The people that don't like me will reject me. They will say, I don't like that guy. I just don't like him. And you know what? That's great. And then they will leave my life. They go, I don't want to hang out with him. We're not going to invite him. We're not going to call him. And that's perfect. And then I lose friends. And that's a good thing, isn't it? Are you with me? It's a good thing to lose friends. We don't want so many friends. I don't need a bunch of people. That's too much. What I need is either solitude, where I'm in peace, or authentic connections, where I'm also in peace. Because also listening are the small minority of people who see me, or in this case, you, as being authentic and say, I don't like Music Fest either. I like that guy. But they're a minority. So you have to get the repelling and the rejecting going. Does anybody want to reject me? You got to walk outside, just ugly version of self. Just, this is me. Anybody want to reject me? And get the rejections going. Just let them leave your life. Go, 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 go. A small percentage will stick because they're true. They're just true to you. They wouldn't leave you. Those are your people. Those are your people. People who can see you authentically as you are, the full jerk version of you, the full not very nice, not really accommodating version of yourself. And those people will stick by your side because they just relate to it. They love the authenticity, but they are a small minority. So don't be afraid to be repelled. Embrace being a Sigma. That means that you will be alone at times. That's fine. Being alone, you get more done. We have too much to do to be worried about having a bunch of people all around us. When you have a bunch of people around you, you lose your identity. This is facts. And you forget what it is you're supposed to be working on. You ever see a group of people walk into a restaurant? Watch them. They're all dressed the same way. They've lost their identity. Watch a group of friends. You see girls come in. If one's wearing jeans and a white shirt, they're all wearing jeans and some variation of that same outfit. If they're wearing skirts, they're all wearing skirts. If they're wearing shorts, they're all wearing shorts. Guys too. They all dress the same. You know why? Because when we're in groups, we lose who we are, and we just become an amalgamation, and we end up conforming to the group. So don't over glamorize this idea of having friends and being with friends. There's a lot of drama involved. It's not always everything it's cracked up to be. Is it okay to have friends? Sure. But keep it in balance. You need to be by yourself. This is a skill, and connecting with others is a skill. We need both in our lives, not just, I need connection. I wasn't made to be alone. Stop. You were made to be able to actually be quite solo in many ways, way more than you give yourself credit for. The two strongest things that we can use to keep us safe in relationships are our ability to be assertive and the ability to set boundaries. Those are narc repellents. Those are abuser and predator repellents. Assertiveness and boundary setting. Assertiveness and boundary setting. Assertiveness is defined as the ability to tell the truth. So when you're assertive, you have the ability to tell the truth. That's what assertiveness is. It's stating facts by the dictionary definition, which is telling the truth. So you're being the opposite of a people pleaser. You're just telling people like it is. That's what an assertive person does. You know what? I can't be held responsible for your bike. Oh, Sandy, can you make these copies for me? Jill, I don't think that's my job. Was she mean? She just said the truth. I don't think that's my job. That's assertiveness. You do that, the predators run. They hate it. Narcissists hate an assertive person. That person walks around telling the truth all the time. They say things like, I don't think a meeting is necessary to discuss this topic. We could do this by email. They're so assertive. They say things like, no, thank you. I don't feel comfortable being alone with you. No offense, but I just don't feel comfortable being alone with you. They say things like, to be honest, I don't really like her that much. Ooh, they are so brutally honest. Assertive people tell the truth. They tell the truth about how they feel. They tell the truth about what's happening and their perspective on things. So be assertive. Tell people how you feel. Tell the truth. And it is a repellent to narcissists. Number one, above all others, is your boundaries. So let's review very quickly what boundaries are and how they're going to keep us safe. Again, we cannot recognize just by looking with our eyeballs, oh, I know every time I see a narcissist. Yeah, there's sometimes. I can think of certain people who I kind of have my suspicions. I think they're narcissists, so I stay away from them. But we don't always know. People can shapeshift, they can change. We don't know right away. So it's the boundaries that keep you safe, not your expertise in narcissism. Does that make sense? It's the boundaries that keep you safe. The people we're protecting ourselves are not always pure narcissists, by the way. Sometimes we're protecting ourselves from bosses that are asking a little bit too much, coworkers that are just being a little inappropriate for the moment, and our own children who will take as much as they can from us if we allow them. I know I would have taken as a young person as much as I could from my parents. I was in no way a narcissist. If they're going to let me eat out of their refrigerator and sleep in their house and do, if they don't set any boundaries, then you're going to take as much as you can. Some of us may be the same way. Sometimes it's innocent. You can be with a person that you love and be thinking that you're mutually enjoying an exchange. But if the person isn't highly boundaried and they don't assert themselves, you could actually be making them feel uncomfortable and not know it. And that's unideal. We would prefer that the person we're with tell us the truth about the way that they feel. And so be that person and set clear boundaries. So what are boundaries? This is the truth about boundaries. Boundaries are rules and limitations that you create. Typically, it's to protect yourself, your sense of well-being, to protect your assets. Boundaries are rules or limitations that you create to protect yourself, your sense of well-being, or your assets. Your assets, by the way, include your time, your money. They're your resources, your time, your money, your material assets, your energy, right? So this is an example of setting a boundary. I go over my mother's house. My mother's a taker, let's say. And I go over there. I say, hey, Mom, I can only stay for about 15 minutes, but I just wanted to drop off these groceries. Bam. What I just did there, I set a boundary. I can only stay for 15 minutes. Now, it is a rule. So I must enforce that rule. So when the time comes and this clock strikes a quarter after, I must say, that's it. I said I can only stay 15 minutes. I got to go. Love you. Bye. Got to be very firm about boundaries. So that's rule number 2. With boundaries, you have to enforce them. Don't tell me, oh, I did try to set boundaries with them. What? You did try to set? No. It's a rule. You make the rule. You have the authority to enforce the rule, which, by the way, we do have authority to make rules even over other people's behavior. Crazy as it sounds. I know it sounds really crazy that we have authority over other people's behavior, but we do. On the basis that we will remove access to our resources, if that makes sense. We have authority over other people's behavior on the basis that we'll remove access to our resources, right? So if I wanted to say to Drea something to govern her behavior, I can on the rules that I would remove access to my resources. So if I say, Drea, I need you to start showing up with groceries. You need to start bringing groceries over to my house if you want to continue to be invited to my house. I can make that rule over her behavior. Now, does she literally have to go out and buy groceries? Absolutely not. On the basis that she is the authority over her resources, which is access to her. So she could say, thank you, but no thank you. I will not be bringing groceries to your house. And I can say, well, then removing my resources, you will not be allowed at my house. And then she can say, well, I won't be coming, removing her resources, and it's done. But she has the right to set that boundary and say, no, she's not going to. I have the right to set the boundary and say, this is what you must do. So we can tell our father, Dad, if you're going to come over, I need you to text me first, governing his behavior. And he can say, son, I'm a father. You can't tell me what to do. I say, Dad, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, although I am. But here's the deal. If you don't do that for me, I can't let you come over. And he says, son, okay, fine, I'll do it. Or if he's a boundary crosser, then he's going to take it to the extreme. But you have to go to the extreme in enforcing your rules. Here's how that's going to look. Son, I said you can't tell me what to do. I'm coming over right now, despite the fact that I'm not texting you first. Then he just shows up at your house. Then you remove access to your resources, which means that you're not going to open the door for him. You're not going to let him in your house. And he's knocking. I might send him a courtesy text, let him know. I told you, you need to text first before you come. I'm not letting you in unless you text first before you come. When you do this, you teach people how to treat you. Yes, even if they're your own parents, they are not higher in authority than you when it comes to your resources. Do you understand? You are the authority of your resources. You are the little mini sovereign of your little nation. So you have to decide who gets access, and you have to enforce that all the way to this extent. Your dad is on your doorstep and you're not letting him in because you told him he has a text and he didn't follow it. Firm. Nice? No niceness. We're not nice. Then what happens? Well, if he wants to push further, because he's probably been trained by you in the past that if he pushes through your boundaries, you'll eventually give in, then he just stays on your doorstep. He decides he's going to camp out. So then what do? Well, then you contact the police. Do you know why you have the ability to contact the police? Because we have laws in every country around the world that your boundaries are so important that the government will provide enforcers to come over and forcibly remove a person who's not respecting your boundaries. I bet you didn't realize you had that much authority, but you do. Remember that and utilize the authority at your disposal. Not lightly, but be willing to call in the enforcers if someone is crouching on your body, your time, your space, your energy, your resources. And you've told them not to, and they keep doing it. Show them how far you're willing to go. And I guarantee you, they will leave you alone. They will eventually learn that you are not the one. They cannot mess with you. And so they will stop because they're looking more for an easy target. They can't get you to bend and they can't control you. Then they'll leave you alone. So don't be afraid to set those boundaries, and how they respond will expose the type of person they are. Honestly, if my father went through doing all that, I would know it was past time to cut him off because he doesn't respect me. He could have just respected it from the very beginning, just texted and then he could come over. It's that simple. So when they expose what kind of person they are is when you set the boundaries. It's not before that. You don't have a special sense to know like who's who. You see how people respond when you set the boundary. Then you know. Then you know. The only proper response when someone sets a boundary is, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you for letting me know. I will abide by your boundary. Or I will walk. I'm going to take a walk. Those are the only appropriate responses when someone sets a boundary. Any other response? Come on, what are you talking? Come on. All that, showing themselves to be an abuser. Now you know who they are. Now you know who they are. Anyway, as far as my dinner, I enjoyed it in peace. I finished my dinner, I listened to my psychology tapes, and I did not watch the young man's bike. I didn't watch it. In fact, out of the corner of my eye, I could kind of see somebody took the bike and rode off. Probably it was him, but guess what? I don't know and I don't care because it's not my responsibility. And I'm glad that I was able to protect my peace. Was I mean? Perhaps I was mean. But what I was also is happy. I was free to leave at any time I wanted to leave. I had less stress. I had zero resentment for taking on more than I should have. And so I recommend to you, don't be nice. Be a strongly boundary person so you too can repel abusers.